Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to this morning's edition of Contractor Chatter. I am your host, Luciana Turner. You know how we do. As you're coming into the room, say hello. Oh my goodness, share this with your network because over here, we don't believe in growing alone. I am honestly a little worn out. I haven't been taking my own advice and I haven't been taking care of myself too well. I'm a little beat down today, but that's okay. We're going to push through, we're going to persevere. So, there's just a whole lot I'm trying to do, and I've been pushing myself a little too hard. You know how we do, ladies. We put on that cape and we think we can do all things through our own strength, and we can't. There are times when we have to ask for help. There are times we have to delegate. And there are times when we have to prioritize. And, that's true for everybody, not just the ladies. That's a failing, especially those of us in the entrepreneurial space. We feel that we have to do all things right away. And if we don't, we are somehow failing. We are somehow missing out on something. We are somehow not living up to our fullest potential if we're not doing all things right away. Now, the last few days, I've been doing a lot more cognitive content versus legislative or training. And that's because I'm reviewing discovery calls, discussions I've had with previous potential clients and clients. And a lot of people need mindset work. And I'm not really what you would call a mindset coach. But if your perspective isn't right, you can't accomplish anything. If you're not viewing the situation correctly, you're not going to accomplish anything correctly. So it's pointless to constantly pour in training and content and all these high level ideas on people that are not ready to absorb it. So I was in conversation with a coach that I intend to engage. And then I was in another conversation with a friend of mine where we were just talking about the pivots we're making in our business. And one of the pivots is, quite frankly, um, an expansion of one customer base and a transition of another. So, because there's one customer base that's ready to work, and there's another that needs more mindset work. But then it left me feeling like I started my business to help this base that I'm shrinking. But then I have this an overabundance of content that's out there to serve that base. And my mentor said it best. It's a disservice to charge or try to charge people who either can't afford or won't afford your service. And that was freeing. I and it freed me from the responsibility of someone else's inability to afford my service. Because unlike other people who $99 their way into poverty, I understand my numbers. I sit down and I say, I pay myself this salary as a part of my business. In order for my business to effectively and efficiently operate, these are the expenses of my business. My business need to have a payment itself, needs to get paid X amount of money per product. Therefore, I combine all of this, and these are the rates that I need to charge. So my prices don't come out of thin air. And I can't adjust my prices anymore. That's why, people talk about this businesses fail within the first 5 years. And then after that, this is the second part of that stat. The businesses that do not fail within the first 5 years, of those businesses, I believe the number is 50% of those businesses fail within the next 5 to 10 years. And overarchingly, outside of the way it's being managed, it's pricing. People don't want to price what they need to price. They don't want to charge what they need to charge under this misguided notion that they have to do something they don't have to do. Your price is your price because your expenses are your expenses. And you can't go to any of your light company. You can't go to your rental company. You can't go to the food place and negotiate what you pay them. So when you factor all these costs in for your day-to-day living, why are you trying to mitigate all of those? Good morning, Vaughn. Why are you trying to mitigate all of those prices or costs for you when you're setting your prices? That is a mindset shifting that needs to occur, especially amongst the Christian community. Misinterpretation and misapplication of scripture, and sometimes outright spiritual abuse. So yes, there's a major transition coming on. Now tomorrow, I'm going to preface this now and then I'm preface it at the end. I have an early doctor's appointment. I don't know what I was thinking when I made this doctor appointment. So I'm pulling something out the vault for tomorrow morning that I think it's a timeless piece that fits the group. And then that'll play for tomorrow because there's no way I can actually do the live and make my doctor's appointment. It just won't happen. So that's good. So when I looked at my doctor's appointment, I was like, ooh, I wasn't thinking at all when I made this appointment. It's just super early. But it's all good. So, yes, factoring and adding up all your costs. People do not understand that when you set your costs, you get paid because you are, even as the business owner, as an employee of the business, your business gets paid. You are not your business. Your business gets paid. Then there are the expenses of running your business. See how that works. All of that factors into your costs. A lot of people, and even in some of these pricing classes that I've sat in, are woefully inadequate. Because I'm sitting here like, okay, so when did you pay your business? And I have to resist the urge to take over people's classes. Because I'm sitting here like, okay, you haven't paid your business, or you've paid your business and you haven't paid yourself. And, I understand the concept of sometimes you can't pay yourself in your business, but that isn't always an option. And even if you are deferring your salary, and if people, and I'm not trying to get into a prolonged accounting class, even if you're deferring your salary, it still should appear in your pricing, even if you have to defer it and dump it back into your business. It still needs to appear on your books as deferred salary. That's why people's business valuations are off. I'm having somebody come on my podcast to talk about business valuation and why they're off. I'm having somebody come into the contractors intensive and talk about that. And then people want to talk about sexism and racism and all this other stuff when it comes to business valuation when your books aren't right. And they aren't right from jump. Well, I have a CPA. That doesn't mean they know what they're doing. There are people who are MBAs that don't know what they're doing. Just because they have some letters on their name, don't. And I'm gonna even go here and I'm gonna take it a little bit higher. The CPA you had when you first start in business may not be the CPA you need when you get to your year 5 and your year 10 or your year 20. Loyalty is keeping a lot of people broke and stuck in their business too. And that's a podcast episode as well. Sometimes we're loyal to our defeat and we're loyal to our brokenness. And then we're trying to figure out why we're defeated and broke. We need to reset and reposition, and we don't want to do either. And then we're trying to figure out why we're set it. I'm talking to myself because I had to do some stuff with my own self. I had to reposition my own mindset the other day. I had to get up out of my own I had to get out of my way. I was watching The Wiz the other night with my kids. It's on Netflix if anybody want to watch it. And we were talking about the story, the musical score in The Wiz is the bomb. And we were talking about that song, I'm a Lion. And the whole meaning behind in your own way, be a lion. And light bulb moment. There's a methodology to everything, but be your own lion. And sometimes we're so busy trying to adapt to a mold that's not for us. And I'm getting ready to go all the way in here. And if you're not a believer, that's okay. It still applies, just apply it to your belief set. We were all created to be unique, but we're so busy trying to copy somebody else and then trying to figure out why it don't work. There's already one of whoever it is you're trying to copy, and they're doing a pretty good job of being them. That's not your job. Be divinely who you are. And then you will see the acceleration in your business. Then you'll see the acceleration in your life. My mentor says, we're not this or that, we're this and that. And some people will never want all of you. They just want certain parts of you. And in business, that's okay. Because guess what? Some people don't want this event that I'm putting on in October because it has a religious overtone to it. But there are 80 people that I just haven't reached yet that are going to flood that room, that are going to receive the message that is attached to that event and get the contracting and training that goes along with that messaging and walk out. That's going to be for them. In October, for my women in contracting business, not October, December, the women contracting event, that's specifically for women in government contracting, there are going to be 50 women who are going to walk into that room and get the message for them. And guess what? And for the other people who don't get it, it's not for them. My people know my voice and they'll come. And those who don't know it won't. And those sitting on the fence will eventually come on over. As my friend Zarika said during her interview, I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but somebody will take a sip. It is what it is. And you have to be okay and walk in that powerfully. Everybody doesn't have to sip from your cup. So, with that, I will close with this thought. Back to the Wiz. Michael Jackson was 19 when he did The Wiz. Did you know that? He was 19 years old when he starred in The Wiz. He starred alongside Nipsey Russell, Mabel King, Diana Ross. The producer was Berry Gordy. These big names in the industry, big names in American industry. I mean, big names. He was 19 years old. And do you know what everybody remembers as his iconic moment, which did not occur for another, I believe it was 2 or 3 years for him? Motown, when he did the moonwalk. And I was sitting there like, how is the moonwalk his most iconic moment when he starred in The Wiz alongside? To me, that was his iconic moment at 19. He shared an apartment in New York, or stayed in an apartment, or however the story goes, in New York with Diana Ross, learning about the industry. How was that not iconic for a 19-year-old? You know how many 19-year-olds in the industry would love that, would jump at the bit to be in a movie, a starring role at that, with those people I just named? And that is not considered his iconic moment. And I'm sure for him, he would name some other moment if he was alive to name it. So I say that to say this. Other people will name your iconic moment. And when it's all said and done, only you can name it. Only you can put a pinpoint and say, this is the moment of my transition. This is the moment of my meteor. You know what I'm trying to say, because my tongue is tied. I haven't had my coffee yet. My moment of my rise. And sometimes from the outside looking in, what the press and what other people say is that definitive moment isn't always the moment. Letting other people define it for you can often be our critical mistake. So with that, I'm going to log off for today. Tune in tomorrow. Even though I'm going into the vault, it's still a timeless piece. It's still some iconic training, because I'm going all the way into the vault. I think I'm going all the way back to the beginning of when I was hosting Chatter, and I'm pulling something out from back then as an anniversary piece, and glean that knowledge. And with that, have an amazing day. Take care of yourself and be good to you. Because if you aren't good to you, nobody else will be. And I'll see you next time on Contractors Chatter.